Hey guys, welcome to another episode of The Tea. Today, plot twist, I'm not drinking tea, I'm drinking coffee. Wow. Which I haven't done in a long time, but I thought since my anxiety is a little better, I'd try coffee. So today I'm talking about something that people have been asking me a lot about lately, and so I thought I'd do a video about it just to get the information out there and to just organize my thoughts because I've been asked this a lot on live as well. Should you join the military? People have been asking me, Nick, should I join the military? And a lot of people, so people that follow me know that I have a less than great experience with the military, and I have a story to tell for sure. If you want to know more about that, please follow the links that are in the description of this video because it's a lot. Now, I just want to start off by saying, like, every experience is good. Like I said, mine was a little less than great. But the military is not necessarily for everybody, and it's not for everybody for the same amount of time. Some people join the military and they stay in for 20 years and they just fucking love it and they retire and whatever. Some people stay in for 10, 12, 15 years. Some people stay in for 5 or 6 years and they're just like, okay, well, that's enough for me. I'm good to go now. And that's completely okay. You can leave because it's not lining up with your ideals. You can leave because you just don't like it anymore. And people will try to guilt you into staying or guilt you into, going in with the intention of staying for 20 years, but it's your fucking life. Don't let them do that. Like, no, don't stay miserable, just to please other people or do what you're supposed to do. There's no such thing. And like I said, some love it, some hate it. So I'm gonna give you my pros and cons. Just a warning, like the cons are definitely a little longer for me, but I think it's important for you to know these are things that your recruiter will most likely not tell you or not highlight for you when they're trying to get you to join. And I think it's important for you to know, so I'm gonna let you know here. So I'm gonna start off with the pros. The pros are that, you get to learn a trade. The military will take you in, they'll train you, they'll indoctrinate you first, they'll indoc you, and then they'll train you to do a job, and it's all for free, and they'll pay you. They literally pay you to exist and learn that job that they've assigned to you, which is pretty cool. My job in the Air Force was contracting, and it's a really translatable skill that can be taken outside. And so I've held several pretty good paying jobs because I had that trade. And so that's nice. You learn a trade. It can be a really good jumping off point financially. The military doesn't pay a lot, but it is a guaranteed job. And if you do manage your money right, you can have a pretty good jumping off point. Now, just as a caveat, I was an officer. And so officers get paid significantly more than people that just enlist. And I can explain the difference between enlisted and officer in another video. And so I had from the jump significantly more money than someone that's enlisting. But either way, it's a guaranteed paycheck, guaranteed raises basically every year. And as you make, the next rank, you get paid more. So that's really nice. And it's something that an 18-year-old, 19-year-old somewhere else would not have that kind, will not have that kind of opportunity to earn money that surely, you know what I mean? So that's a good thing. Like I said, it's a guaranteed job. No matter what you do, it may not be the job that you want, but you will have a job and you will be getting paid, and you can see exactly what you'll be getting paid. There's no surprises. It's not negotiable, you know what I mean? Which is kind of a bad thing, but at least you're getting paid the same as everybody else. You can get to travel. You could be stationed here stateside. You could be stationed like in Japan or Germany or somewhere else. Really, really cool. And some people really like deployments. For some people, deployments are a vacation, honestly. At least in the Air Force, which is what I was. I was an officer in the Air Force. And so that's really cool. I think that travel is the best education that you can have. I was fortunate enough to be selected for a special duty working for Air Force Entertainment, in which I got to travel literally all over the world. I visited 16 countries in 10 months. It was literally the best year of my life. And I definitely learned a lot and became more culturally aware by traveling. And so I think that's a really good experience. You get a lot of really close friendships. I have a lot, like most of my very close friends are friends that I made in the military, and I've been out for 1.5 years now, and we still keep in contact, even though we don't see each other every day like we used to. They're still very, very close and true friends of mine, and I love them dearly. You really can't replace relationships like that. It's really, really cool. Military will put you in a lot of challenging positions as far as leadership, as far as management. And if you like a challenge, if you're the kind of person that likes being challenged, which I definitely have been, or I am a person that generally I have liked to be challenged, then the military will definitely do that, because you'll find yourself in very interesting situations and very interesting places where you'll have to really use your problem-solving skills. And if that's something that appeals to you, then maybe the military is for you. And like I said, on top of the money, if you don't have a way to pay for education, that is definitely, the military is definitely an option for that. There's different programs and different deals within the military that if you join up, they will pay for your education. They will. I went to the Air Force Academy, which is probably the top tier of the military paying for your education. Literally, the Air Force Academy is up there with like Ivy League schools, Harvard, Yale, and all that stuff. And honestly, in a lot of circles, is considered even more prestigious than Ivy League schools. And so if you have really good grades, if you're really strong academically, and you really want to go to college straight out of high school, definitely consider ROTC or the military academies, West Point, Annapolis, Air Force, and then also there's the Merchant Marines Academy. So those are my pros. And as I have experienced the military, those are the biggest pros. And these are probably things that your recruiter will tell you, and they'll keep reiterating over and over and over because they want you to join. But now I'm gonna hop into the cons, which I think are just as important, if not more important, for you to know before you sign on the dotted line. So what they won't highlight so much about joining the military is that you lose your freedom. And when I say you lose your freedom, you literally lose your constitutional rights, basically. You have to do what they say. You have to go where they tell you to go. You have to wear a uniform all the time. There's literally a regulation that states how you can wear your hair or put on makeup. And just to go to like the racist part of it, like braids and cornrows weren't even allowed in the Air Force until very recently. Same thing as the Army. So yeah, consider that. You can't just say whatever you want to say. Like, you can't just hop on Facebook and like speak out against the president. Say if you are extremely anti-Trump, like I am, like I always have been, but I was never able to say that out loud. Because speaking out against the president as a military member is illegal, actually. You can participate in politics, you can, but there are very strict guidelines as to what you can do, where you can go, even what you can wear, whether or not you can do it in uniform. You can't. There's like, every time you say something on the internet, especially if you're in uniform, which is why I hate seeing people that do that in uniform on TikTok and stuff. Not because I disagree with them necessarily all the time. Some of them do say some dumbass shit, but also because they can get in trouble. And I don't want to see anybody get in trouble. But you can't, like I say, you lose your freedom of speech. You can't just say whatever you want to say. You can't just quit. You can't just quit. A lot of people have asked, especially regarding my situation, they're like, well, couldn't you just quit? No, you can't just quit. You have to serve out your contract. And if you don't, like, if you just decide, fuck this, I'm just gonna go off and just do what I want, that's called going AWOL, absent without leave, and they will throw you in jail. Yes, not showing up to work can literally be a crime. It is actually a crime in the military, so they can throw you in jail. So you can't just quit if you decide that you don't like it anymore. So whether you signed a 3, 4, 5, 6 year contract, you gotta serve the rest of that term. You become government property. Literally, your body is government property. If you get a sunburn, like a really bad sunburn, they can issue you paperwork or non-judicial punishment, like an Article 15 or whatever, for damaging government property. As if you could get any less subtle about it. Like, you really are government property. You are really just a number. You are a tool for the government at the end of the day, no matter how much they say they care about you or how much they say you're very important to them. You are a government tool at the end of the day. You have to go where they say they want you to go. You have to do what they want you to do. Now, also, which is kind of a sensitive issue, but military recruiters generally, it has been shown, target poor communities. Poor communities, which are, which tend to be mostly Black and brown communities. And I say that the military attracts broken people. I do think that a lot of uniformed services, like the military, like the police force, target broken people. And what I mean by broken people is like people with little financial means, people with nowhere else to go, people in really bad home situations that really just want to get out. They want to find a place to belong. They want to have a sense of purpose, and they want to have a means to provide for themselves. And the military offers all of that. And which it could be at a very high cost, but those are definitely the people that they target, myself included. I may have been an officer, I may have gone to a very prestigious school and everything, but the fact remains, when I was in high school, I had a very bad home situation, and there was no money for me in the college fund. There was no college fund. I wasn't going to college unless I found a full ride somewhere. And the Air Force Academy at the time was the best option, and so I went with it. So even though I'm pretty privileged in the fact that I was able to become an officer and earn quite a bit of money, I was still a broken person, so to speak, when they found me, when they recruited me. So think about that. And now, again, I want to go into the racism part of this, the racist, sexist part of this. Certain groups are not protected. I want to say that it's probably worse in the military than it is outside, which it is, because there is no HR or whatever to report your, boss if they're harassing you or anything. There are agencies in place, but in my experience, and a lot of people's experiences, it doesn't work, specifically if you're a woman, specifically if you're a woman of color. The Air Force even just came out saying, admitting that they did a study and showed that Black airmen or airmen of color are punished significantly more than white airmen. That's not to say that the Black airmen that were punished, didn't do something wrong, but it's basically saying that the Air Force or Air Force leaders are more likely to give second chances, to overlook, to show favoritism to white airmen. And then with Black and, other airmen of color, they're more likely to basically ruin their fucking lives the first time they screw up on anything. So the Air Force has definitely admitted that. Even in the officer ranks, it has been observed, and there's been studies shown that it is very hard to progress in the ranks when you are a Black officer. And I have articles down below in the description of this video so that you can read some more about this. But it is definitely a good old boys club, and the military, like most other big institutions, are controlled by white men. Most generals are white men. And, you know, if you don't fit into that club, if you're not likable the way that they see it, you know, it's very likely that you will not advance in the ranks the way that you want to, or you'll have to kiss a lot of ass and do things that you don't want to do to advance. And a lot of people just don't want to jeopardize their integrity or their honor to do that. Protection from harassment, like I said, if you want to hear about my story, the link, like I said, is down in the description of this video. But I was harassed and stalked by a commander who had a history of doing this to women, who had a history of doing this to women of color. She was another woman, and it was very, very bad, to the point that my therapist thought that she would come to my house and maybe try to kill me. And I did everything that I was supposed to do. I went through every avenue that is set up, that is supposed to protect airmen that are being mistreated, and nothing was done. And, you know, by the time any protection was offered to me at all, she only had a few more months left as my commander. She left, and I got PTSD from the entire experience, because it was very, 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 very bad. Extremely bad. And my story is not unique. There are so many people that go through this, of all colors, of all genders, of all races, but especially if you're a woman, and especially if you are a woman of color, especially if you are a Black woman. And there are lots of cases out there, like Vanessa Guillen, a woman who was in the Army, a woman from my hometown of Houston, Texas, who was sexually assaulted, tried to get protection, tried to report it, nothing was done. And the person that supposedly sexually assaulted her, or allegedly sexually assaulted her, killed her, chopped her up into bits after trying to burn the body. Chopped her up into bits and threw her like somewhere outside of base. And that's a whole nother scandal, because it's very, very suspicious that that guy made it off base with a body, because military bases are supposed to be the most guarded places in the world. So how did he make it off? But anyway, that's, like I said, very sus, very, very sus. And there's countless other cases like that, where basically the needs, or, you know, the safety of women of color, people of color, are completely ignored. And you know, I have other friends that have been sexual assaulted, that have been raped, you know, that, you know, the system has continued to fail them over and over again. Anywhere from just like not answering their calls literally minutes after they've been raped, to like trying to put them in a mental institution for insanity, because they start exhibiting signs of PTSD soon after, which is what you fucking do after you've gone through a traumatic experience. But instead of pursuing the person that did it, they victim blame, because it's just easier. So that's probably one of the biggest reasons why you should definitely reconsider, especially if you're a woman of color. Some others, it's very hard to adjust after the military, after leaving. Like, I'm still facing some difficulties just getting used to civilian life a year and a half after leaving. There's definitely an element of brainwashing done when you first go into basic training. The whole thing is to break you down so they can build you back up into what they want you to be. And it very much discourages individuality. And so if you're somebody that really treasures their individuality, maybe the military is not for you, because they will try to beat that out of you from the jump. The mission always comes first. And so that means little regard for you, what you want for your family or for yourself. And, basically, like I said, you're a tool for the government to use for its purposes. So you have to consider that. And you might, that means that you might have to go fight a war that you don't necessarily believe in, go somewhere that you don't want to go to, somewhere really dangerous where you might have to risk your life for a cause that you do not believe in, and you will have little to no choice whether or not you go or not. And lastly, most people, or a lot of people, after they get out of the military, are returned to the civilian life broken. I'm 28 years old. I feel so much older than 28. I have PTSD, generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, and major depressive disorder. These are all things that will stay with me for years after I've been wearing a uniform for 9 years, active duty for 5. I have arthritis, I have scoliosis, and like just other ailments, other random things. I have tendonitis in one of my knees, the other one does things that I have no idea what. Like, I have a lot of difficulties, and I've always been very, very athletic, and there's things that I just cannot do anymore, both physically and mentally. And those are things that are going to stay with me my entire life. I do get a disability check, but like I said, at what cost? At what cost? And it's not very fun at all. And like I said, it's something that I'm going to have to work on for the rest of my life, because of those 9 years that I gave to wear a uniform. So in summary, all in all, should you join the military? My official answer is, if you consider all of these details and more after you do more research, and you still want to join, by all means, go on ahead. I mean, like I said, some people join and they love it and they say it's the best choice of their life, you know, and they go 10, 15, 20 years and they're like, fuck yeah, and they get out and they retire and they get a retirement check and they're like, these were the best years of my life and everything, blah, 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 blah. I'll admit, like, the best year of my life was when I was, you know, during the time when I was in the Air Force. But especially if you are a woman, especially if you are a woman of color, especially if you are a Black woman, if there are other options available to you, please consider them. Because I cannot, in my good conscience, say to you that you absolutely should join the military because it is 100% a good option and you should do it. Because honestly, like I said, specifically if you're a woman of color, a Black woman, I'm concerned for your safety if you join the armed forces. Because from my experience and from the experience of people that look like me and other people that look like me, that I personally know, even, you know, even white women that I know personally, at the end of the day, the military is very likely to not give a fuck about you and throw you away and risk literally your safety and your life, not even overseas fighting a foreign enemy, but just right here at home in an office, which is where I got my PTSD, not from fighting or having to kill for my country. So, there are other options. If you still want to wear the uniform, definitely consider the National Guard or the reserves. The National Guard, to my understanding, is kind of like it's like a state militia. So like the Texas National Guard, you know, you go to boot camp just like everybody else, but you'll stay in the state of Texas. You'll stay with your guard unit, and I think you only have to go on like work on like the weekends or work like 2 weeks out of the month or something like that. It's very, very limited. Like, you get to live like kind of half civilian and half military. Also, you don't have to deploy if you don't want to. You can absolutely volunteer to deploy if you want to, but you don't have to deploy. I'm not as familiar with the reserves, but I think it's very, very, it's very similar. So yeah, if you still want to wear the uniform, consider that. But like I said, if there are other options available to you, please, please, please consider those, because, like I said, at the end of the day, you're just a tool, and if you're a person of color, it's even more dangerous for you, because I think the racism in that system is even more dangerous than outside of it, because it's such a contained, small, almost cultish community, and there's little protection for you out there, and there's little that outside courts can really do for you, and everything. So please consider that. I have no regrets. People ask me if I regret joining the military. Just in general, as a rule for myself, I don't have any regrets for the choices in my life, really, per se, because every choice that I have made throughout my entire life has brought me to where I am today, and has, helped me, meet the people that are in my life that I can't imagine my life without now. But I do wonder very, very often where I would be mentally and physically if I had taken a different route in life instead of joining the military. Because like I said, I am left with quite a few ailments that I will have to manage for the rest of my life, because I gave 9 years to the armed forces, and that really sucks. So that's my official word on it, whether or not you should join the military or not. Let me know if you have any other questions or comments down in the comment section. Please make sure to follow me on other social media, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter. And if there's anything else that you would like me to talk about, as usual, put it in the comments. But that is it for today's episode of The Tea. And also make sure you subscribe to this channel and like this video if this was helpful. All right. Thank you so much for watching, you guys, and I will see you later.